Well, greetings everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Inworld Review. Nothing like a quick start there, even though technically we're about 10 minutes behind on the broadcast. But you won't know that, most of you, because nobody watches us, at least not live. They all watch in replay, so who really cares what time we do it? Anyway, welcome to the show. I am speaking to you currently on a date yet to be decided. No, it's the 20th of June of the grand old year 2015, just for the record there. And a busy day it is for many people, and it gets even busier as the week goes by here. I'm going to start off with just a few highlights, and there aren't actually particularly many from my Twitter feed, first of all. Just to let you know what's been going on. I know, I forget whether Maria mentioned Bitcoin-based YR grid becoming popular in the States and US, Saudi Arabia. I think she did last week, but that's the type of good business. Courtesy of Road to VR, we have an article. Oculus has earmarked $10 million for indie VR devs in the biggest content investment yet. And I think the key word there is content. All this wonderful hardware is fine, but if there ain't nothing good to view on it, we have a problem. So this is Oculus' own investment in earmarking currency, which I suppose at the end of the day is, of course, Facebook. Again, Maria talks about landscaping is bringing in the dough on Kitely. I think we mentioned that last week. And I think this is Maria probably knows about this. Virtual Life is celebrating its first anniversary and makes a $5 deal permanent. Permanent. Oh yes, for how long I wonder. Via Scoop It, I can't remember the detail on this one, but it was an interesting article, suitably academic sounding title of Systematic Issues in Metaverse Implementations. Yes. You can follow the links to all these, by the way, if you check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/malburns, all one word, and you'll find the links to things I'm mentioning here. Another one, virtual reality headsets gaining scrutiny at E3 this week, but raising very real concerns. I can't remember where that came from. I posted it via Scoop It, which means I don't even have a hint in the link, so to speak. Virtual reality, the future of listings. Another link there. I'm not quite sure what that was at all. Presumably listings of virtual reality apps, I think it was. A post called Dueling Realities, which I seem to remember was rather interesting. Again, all this has come by Flip It. More for Maria on regions growing, activity slows on opposing grids, Linden shut down exchanges. Oh, yeah, well, I think, Maria had this too. Linden are up to their, building more wall. Think of the Pink Floyd, tear down the wall, and then think of Linden Labs as the exact opposite. Another brick in the wall, please. Cue a tune, somebody. Right, and, the final link actually is to... there's a link to sl.governormarley.com, and it seems to be without a title. Sometimes this happens when you press buttons. They don't publish the title with the link. And I also tweeted a blog that I keep forgetting I have called rebelmouse.com/malburns, and it sort of picks up automatically my feeds from here, there, and everywhere, but it picks up a little bit more than that's in my Tumblr blog, which is mostly video and magazines. But so that is that for me on that front. While I'm talking, I'm just pressing over to my Twitter, my other Twitter feed, which is twitter.com/malburns_writer, which of course is my Second Life avatar name, and most of this are the latest shows on YouTube and Machinima and things like that. I'm scanning down it. There's an awful lot here, despite the fact I'm mostly busy in OpenSim. My feed on that account has endless, endless things on it. There is a week of activities going on for Relay for Life in Second Life. I do actually have some sad news this week. I was talking earlier today with Safia Widershins, and the Relay for Life telethon that we're all normally involved with won't be happening this year. Some of us have had to back out. Others just aren't around, and managing to do it with no fresh blood is becoming a logistical nightmare. So, I mean, there may be various films and interviews and things coming up to do with Relay, but we won't be doing the normal 24-hour telethon this year. There just aren't enough of us to keep it going. Mostly on the tech side, we don't have enough cameras or live stream operators. In fact, the only one we have would be me, and I can't do all of it this year. So there we go. However, also in Second Life, of course, there are things going on. And although it's a walled garden, as they say, and not part of the hypergrid, Second Life is still a very fondly remembered platform and often used platform if you want to access a great number of consumers, shall we say, all in one virtual space, if you've got stores and things like that. And this is the week that, right now, in fact, Safa and Elric, and indeed Petlove and Emo, busy filming it, are actually filming yet another edition of the Avi Awards at this very moment, which is why I couldn't get any of them here. The Avi Awards is a periodic. It used to be an annual award for, the best in shops, the best in hunts, the best in media, the best in whatever. But this year it's been split up into several different ones. In other words, the fashion one is separate from the arts one, and the media one is separate from that. And I'm not quite sure which one it is that's happening tonight, but it's the big celebrity, avatar celebrity event that is going on right now. And to top it all, tomorrow is the opening day of the Second Life 12th community celebrations. Their birthday party, in other words, 12 years of Second Life. And after some years of the community celebration having sort of been organized independently, and it still is, I hasten to add, the Lindens, Linden Lab itself, do seem to have actually woken up and become a bit more involved in it themselves this year. I've been posting several clips throughout the week on my Tumblr blog, this other Twitter feed, where Lindens actually have a concert, a concert indeed, a contest, which is a video contest. They're basically getting people to publish videos online saying why they like Second Life or what Second Life means to me. I was going to make a quip today, actually, about we should have a similar competition about what the hypergrid means to me. But Chikeon here in Canada has actually beaten me to it. She had a blog this morning saying exactly the same thing. Why can't we have what OS means to me? So, yeah, they've been rather good, actually. The usual culprits like Jatster Dupre and, the Linda groupies have all done ones, as has Exolia, I think her name is Linden herself, and Torley, and the usual suspects there too. They're quite good. They're just a real world voice, short clips saying people telling people what Second Life means to them, machinima pictures, but basically it's a quick monologue about people's thoughts. And in the last few days, I've posted quite a few YouTube clips that have come up that have been responding to that. Some of them very well done, some of them not really, but people getting their ending. So, that's the big thing. Now, as I said, I spoke to Safia this morning. Safia is actually not really involved in the main parts of the birthday build this year, but she will be hosting some of the talks that are happening this week, and that really is my main focus. Things have gone really quite haywire on the number of talks this year. There used to be 3 a day, but there are now 5 a day. I can tell you basically at 9 a.m., this is all Pacific time, by the way, every day there will be a Meet the Non-Profits talk. and that's going to be hosted by Rhiannon Chatois, Joyce Betancourt, as we sometimes know her on this show. She's busy filming Agile Bill at the moment, so she couldn't get here. But with a bit of luck, I will be popping in at 9 o'clock every day to film those. At 1 p.m. Each day, there is going to be Meet the Lindens. Yes, this is another new one. I think I've got this the right way around. At 1 p.m. every day, it's going to be Meet the Lindens, including this time next week, Saturday, meet Ebby Linden. The Lindens are falling over themselves to help with this, and those sessions, I gather, are going to be filmed by our old camera here, Pet Love Pet Shop. So that has been taken care of. At 2 p.m., there is a talk each day that is hosted by Safi herself, and that is Meet the Designers. And with a bit of luck, I'll be able to get in and bring you a few of those. And that's followed at 3 p.m. by Taralyn Gravois, who will be interviewing various artists in Meet the Artists each day. And finally, at I think it's 5 p.m. Second Life time each day, rather late, there is the good old standby Meet the Communities, where they get all the steampunkers and Doctor Who fans and people like that, communities in Second Life, and talk to them. So if I can, I will be filming some of the non-profit stuff, if not all. Also, some of the Meet Designer and Meet the Artists. However, before I can do this, I actually have to get into Second Life, well, obviously. And I actually have to go through channels inside Second Life with the hierarchy of the birthday people to get permission to do it. I'd arranged to do this ages ago, but I only found out this morning that because Safia's not behind it, she's not allowed to authorize anything. I've got to go hunting for permission. The reason I got hold of Safia was just to check that nobody else was doing it. For example, Pet Love doing the Linden sessions. Anyway, I hope that we, and I'm talking here about everybody concerned, including Pet Love and everybody over in Second Life, will be bringing you a lot of interesting talks during the course of the week, and I'm sure they'll all end up one way or another on YouTube. For your delectation, and I will, of course, publish them on my various media blogs as soon as they come out. I don't really. The Second Life birthday is always a crazy thing. The old regulars take exhibition stands there, and then newcomers take stands there. Some of the old timers, like ourselves, for example, who don't bother anymore, but are there in spirit. It's different every year. But basically, it's an exhibition come celebration of everything that's best about Second Life, and there's some crazy stuff there. Nobody's allowed to sell anything. It's all non-commercial. It's strictly a birthday celebration, and it's a shame, really, that it's only there for 1 week. The builds always remain for a second week in case you missed anything or couldn't get in because of the crowds. But the actual activities, like the talks I mentioned, tend to start taking place in the first, well, they only last the first week. The official opening day is tomorrow. I think it's at 9 a.m. So where there's a talk going on at the very moment it opens, or whether the morning talk starts on Monday, I'm not sure. But from 9 a.m. tomorrow, the gates are open, so to speak, and there's I think there's 15 agents making out the birthday event this year. So there will be a lot of sights and sounds and other tomfoolery for you to enjoy. Maybe Tara will have something more on this in a second. Come on, Skype. Right. Okay. Folks. Thank you very much, everybody. We are back. We are on a new Skype call, so my apologies if you lost a thread of our conversation. This is becoming a habit now, and if I could...
Well, I hadn't said anything at all of any consequence, so I can just start at the beginning. So.
Exactly. So, as I said before we went off air, it's time to hand over to Tara for her take on the week. So over to you, Tara.
Thank you, Mel. And greetings, everyone, from the RL-SIM of the Pacific Northwest, where the sun is out again. Probably the birthday celebration in Second Life is the is the big item around Second Life this week. But also probably of note, just because these have RL Sim implications, tomorrow is the official first day of summer, and tomorrow is also, I believe, Father's Day. And all of us have fathers. For those who have fathers who are still living, it's a day to recognize their contributions to our lives. Anyway, what was I going to add on the birthday? There was something I was going to add about the birthday.
Oh, velociraptors.
Oh, no, we mentioned velociraptors last week.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's the freebie avatar to be collected at the birthday. And I know the other thing I was going to mention is not only are there the talking heads bits that Mal was referring to earlier, but also multiple music stages that run throughout the week, this coming week, with there's always a ton of stuff scheduled as far as performers are concerned. So, there's the actual benefit of it going for a second week without that stuff is that you can go and feel guilt-free about not attending the events that only happen in the first week. So, and the crowds thin out a little bit. So you have the opportunity to wander around and really actually see the builds. And considering everybody gets a pretty small patch, the builds really run the gamut. And there was I forget what the slogan is for this year, but it concerns the imagination. So it's really pulled the plug, I think, on bringing imagination to the fore as far as what people were supposed to come up with. So. And just for those who are interested, the Lindens who are scheduled on the presentations, Oz Linden on Monday, Patch Linden and Dee Linden on Tuesday, Ziola Linden and Pete Linden on Wednesday, Danger Linden and Troy Linden on Thursday, and Eve Linden on Friday is the schedule for those. Let's see. Let me back up. This machinima or video, what Second Life means to me. Thing. It's not a contest. It's an opportunity to share one's perspectives. It's clearly while they've kicked it off kind of in connection with the 12th birthday, it's not tied to the 12th birthday. It doesn't end when the birthday's over.
Yeah, I made a mistake when I described it as a contest. It is simply
it isn't a contest. But the thought that occurred to me is that with our show expanding noticeably as far as covering OpenSim as well as Second Life, I think it's worthwhile to remember that OpenSim has its roots in Second Life too. And a good many people who are in OpenSim now started off in Second Life. So, Second Life has significance for probably the vast majority of people who are around OpenSim and anywhere you can get to via the hypergrid. So, just kind of put that in the back of your head. That's the ancestor is there. Let's see. Let me switch over here. Yeah, well, let me just kind of cut a couple other items from Second Life. The Linden Dollar Reseller Pilot Program that has been going for a couple of years now, since Linden Lab did a rather abrupt turnaround on handling Linden dollars in order to get itself in line with banking regulations and all that. They are ending that program. And basically, what they've said is that the various options for being able to buy Linden dollars have expanded sufficiently to deal with issues of people who are not located in Europe or the U.S. or Canada, so that the need for other sellers has declined. I suspect this is also just more belt tightening and easier, relatively easier to manage for Linden Labs. So anyway, that is ending as of August 1st. The authorized Linden reseller program, pilot program, and the Lindex will be the only authorized place to purchase linens. There has been, just a minute, see, what was the other item I had here?
I'll just, if I can, because this is a very long list in front of me, I'll just interject with a couple of things on Second Life from my feed. In other pay reports on, there's something going on called a Carnival of the Arts, celebrating 2 years in Second Life. You can find that at modemworld.wordpress.com. And if you haven't got it, Tara, there is a latest round. Ooh, where's it gone? Friday Hunt Report at bloggingsl.net came out yesterday. Oh, and here we are. LEA announces round 8 of their AIRSs.
Yes, I didn't have a chance to catch up with that. I knew those announcements were about due. Who the next round of artists in residence is.
Yeah, I know Fusion Nightfire is on a list. Great, she's been on the show, of course, very active in OpenSim here. You can find out at lindenarts.blogspot.com, by the way. So back to you.
Yeah, okay. There has been an interesting, just one little item I picked up here from Hamlet's blog. Second Life blogger Canary Beck picked up a scoop of translating a recent interview with Ebby Altberg that took place in the Spanish paper El País. Apparently, this has kind of come back full circle, because the lab has responded that El País, or that actually mistranslated him in the first place. It basically, the quote that was paraphrased was that Second Life has suffered from its own real estate bubble as far as rental prices versus it not being aimed at the average consumer, making renting virtual land an expensive hobby for those who want to run a virtual business. And theoretically, Altberg said that land would be offered for less in Sansar, and there would be a commission on purchases. And they quoted him as saying 5%, which is extremely low compared to the usual 30% for virtual goods. But the lab has come back and said, unfortunately, the El País journalist did not quite get Ebby's comments correct in the interview.
I remember that Elan from Kitely mentioned this last week. I'm wondering if this came from the same source, this misunderstanding.
Well, it was how it was printed in the Spanish paper. It was just an article in El País that misinterpreted, and basically what the lab said, that in the interview, Ebby was explaining that currently the lab takes 5% on transactions in the marketplace, but he also with Project Sansar that they want to monetize less on land and more on transactions. In general, they want to lower the barrier to entry for creators while sharing in their successes. Then what the numbers and percentages will be are still to be determined. So any buzz on all that is kind of one of those interesting, when you take someone who's speaking in English and you have somebody translate that into Spanish, the risks of a mistranslation occur, and then you get it back into English, and you get a great game of gossip going.
Yes.
The game of gossip, when everybody sits around in a circle and somebody whispers something in your ear, and it whispers around the room, and it gets back to the first person. That's nothing like what they said. Anyway.
Talking of interviews, by the way, I picked up, and I don't have a link to it, unfortunately, but it was on the feed somewhere, a video. So it was an audio podcast this morning. Ebbe Altsberg interviewed by Bloomberg. Apparently, though, he was meant to be talking about Second Life, but got hijacked talking about VR technology and new developments. But for those of you who are interested, the Bloomberg site does have an audio video interview with him.
Very good. Expanding a bit, a couple of items out in the bigger world here. the Oculus CEO Brendan Uribe spoke about some of the details of their official Rift software store this past week, talking to TechCrunch. The store will they expect will operate on a very standard business model, and likely will be taking the standard 30% share of all transactions. It seems likely that Oculus will follow suit on that. And his note that Brendan Uribe's comment was there's lots of fees and a lot of engineering that goes into building and managing and maintaining the store. It doesn't just happen on its own. All kinds of credit card transaction fees, et cetera, et cetera. So they want it to work well. But the things that particularly caught my attention, he did note and stress that the platform is open source, so that their store will not be the only show in town as far as getting stuff, but that they will be basically screening content, so that monitor content, make sure the policy we put up, which is this safe and clean environment that everybody can know and love and trust. So contributors are going to have to get approved. Part of what they're doing, this is what really caught my attention. Each game will be given a comfort rating in order to give customers an idea of what to expect, not just from the nature of the content in terms of fear or violence, but also in how likely it is to induce motion sickness. And apparently Valve is promising a zero sickness from its Viva headset. And ensuring the customers don't have bad experiences in regard, which could certainly be crucial, as we have commented to how successful this stuff is. Anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. And Ariba also talked about the fact that some things can end up feeling really intense in VR, such as, if you're playing a game where there's bullets flying, you don't have the same. He said, we've really gotten used to it on a 2D monitor because our brain is saying, don't worry, it's safe. But that same thing doesn't happen in VR. So it can feel very intense. So they want to make sure that they provide warnings around those sorts of things. The other item that caught my attention, the New Yorker, this past week had a cover featuring virtual worlds, namely Minecraft. And the title of the article is Playdate. The cover is a couple of kids, and they both have monitors, and it's clearly Minecraft in front of them. So there's an interesting, fun little article about Minecraft and parents and how kids adjust to it, how kids have adapted to it, and how much time they put into it, as clearly as a creativity platform. And the author has a 10-year-old daughter who's just totally immersed and has built all kinds of amazing and wonderful kid things. And it's known in comment, apparently, kids who are involved in Minecraft caught up with the fact that Microsoft has acquired Minecraft. And his daughter said, "I hope Bill Gates doesn't screw it up."
Well, of course, yeah. Talking of Skype, yes.
Yeah, and final item, just a wonderful destination. Thanks to another destination blogger, Connor McMillan. Yes, Mizu, a rain story in Second Life. The storyline is, you dropped the stone and broke it. From that moment on, there was no rain. The drought has uncovered the old village of Izumi, hidden under the waters behind a dam. Well, it was until you messed things up. It opened recently, runs into July. There's a free HUD to move around and hunting for clues to the fate of the village and its inhabitants. The sim name is Papillon, Papillon. And you can also find out more at their blog, which is Mizu, mizu-sl.blogspot.jp, as in Japan. And the blog is in both Japanese and English, so you don't have to take a translator long. And that's enough for me.
I must say, when I'm trying to report on Metropolis Grid here, all their blogs are in German, and I don't understand a word, so they don't get full coverage, I'm afraid. Okay, there's one actually, which I think if I do have to go into Second Life, I might try and get to because there's a group called Literature Alive. And they brought back something that apparently had an earlier incarnation in Second Life called the Canterbury Tales Virtual Pilgrimage in Second Life. Minara Pay at Modern World has something on this, but the link I've got open is to somebody called Beth's Second Life. That's Beths. And then Second Life in words, all as one word at blogspot.com. And basically, it's meeting with some acclaim. Everybody apparently remembers Chaucer from their educational days. Is sort of bouncing in there to relive the experience. So I thought I'd slot that one in. And I did mention earlier, it's funny, I was talking to Safi about this earlier, that Venezia and Goatswood, two very acclaimed, very picturesque sims in Second Life, have actually now closed, but they will be coming out onto the hypergrid because the people who did that have got other projects and they're opening up their own grid on OpenSim. And I mentioned this to Safia, and she was rather aghast because, of course, everybody's Second Life is moaning the loss, but we're not realizing that they're going to reappear somewhere else. So their loss, our gain, so to speak. And yep, I'm heading down the list here. You will not believe how many posts I end up getting up on the Second Life feed. So I'm going to leave it at that unless something else comes up later that I have to mention. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Maria for all the latest hypergrid business and wherever Maria has been during the week. Maria.
Hi, Mel. Well, thank you very much for having me, as always. It's great to be here. It's been a slow week because my chief researcher for Hyperica has gone on vacation because it's summer and he's young and he's off having fun and while I'm sitting here working. But we did have a busy week this week. So you already mentioned my top stories, so kind of taking the buzz out of them.
I'm sorry.
So Virtual Life, you already mentioned they're celebrating their first anniversary, and they're gonna have a party, and they're also making the $5 region deal permanent. Now, what makes this grid unique is that they are now the lowest cost closed commercial grid. So it's $5 for 15,000 per region, no setup fee, no limit on visitors. Most commercial grids like Kitely, Avation, etc., they typically charge quite a bit more for the regions, between 40 and 60 bucks or so. And in return, what they offer is a more robust community support, and what they market for creators is that they're a closed grid, so content is safer. In particular, rigged content and mesh content cannot currently be stolen on a closed grid unless, like, somebody bribes one of your employees or something. But you can copy bot anything else, but right now you can't copy bot rigged mesh content and scripts. So if you have content that is has very expensive scripts associated with it, and it does not currently have an open source competitor or any other competitors, and you want to keep it that way, you might want to stay on a closed grid. If your content has already been reverse engineered and there's plenty of competitors out there, then you're not really losing anything by going to a hypergrid enabled grid. because people already have their hands on similar stuff. So at $5 a month, they are now the least expensive of the closed grid. So if you're somebody who's looking for a closed grid, you can go there. However, they're not really the biggest of the closed grids. They've been growing really slowly. So if you do go there, you're not going there to get a huge market.
I noticed, it surprised me actually that they announced that change is permanent because, as you know, Canada here, Great Canadian Grid, started off with that price, and some people are still grandfathered, but the reality is that is not a very economical price to manage a grid on. And even DigiWorld's is 8, and I wonder how long they'll stay with that. So,
Right. And of course, any use of the word permanent is
yeah,
extremely suspect in the virtual worlds.
yes,
But I think what they're meaning is that originally this spring they launched as a marketing thing. We're having like a short-term marketing thing with $5 regions, and I guess they decided that it does work and they are able to make it work. And I guess enough people upgrade to premium regions or spend money on the grid to make it worth it for them. Because there's obviously other ways for a grid to make money besides selling land, as the Second Life discussion with their online market is hopefully indicating
yeah.
that they might be doing there. Now, another grid that's making low prices permanent is AviWorlds, which is it's a hypergrid enabled grid. It's not an open grid in the sense that you can connect your own regions, but it's not a closed grid in the sense that it's like off the hypergrid.
And
So it's on
it operates on a piece of elastic, doesn't it? So it goes up and down.
yes.
Sorry.
Yes, it does. Anyway, so they have announced $3 regions. They also have premium regions that are expensive and have a $100 setup fee. They also have low cost VAR regions and premium VAR regions. And the difference between the two is how many of them are packed on a single server. So if you have like a residential region and you only have a few people visiting, then you might as well get something on a shared server. If you have a region that you use for events or to run a business, you want something that's a little bit more solid, has a little bit more processing power, so that it doesn't go down when you need it most.
It's that's one thing Canada here do. In fact, I gather from what is the with the growing grid, it's although it performs very well, as more and more people want regions, of course they've got to order new servers, and while they're waiting for new servers, they have no choice but maybe to, I won't say overload, but get put regions, more regions they'd like on an individual server while they're waiting for delivery of the next. But Roddy was saying, then fair's fair, they can actually offer both solutions. You can either be on the shared server, or if you want, you can have a region or as many regions you want on a dedicated server for an add-on price that didn't sound too unreasonable for me.
Also, this is what cloud was made for. While you're waiting for a server to arrive, you can run regions on a dedicated server in Amazon Cloud. And I believe that's what ZetaMax does, is they have a mixed model. If you own your own server long term, it's cheaper. But sometimes renting for short term can help make up the difference. Like it's cheaper to own your own lawnmower, but if you only need one for like a day or two, then you can just rent one from the lawnmower rental place, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I was surprised that AviWorlds got into the $3 region business, because I believe they were one of the proponents of an expensive land model, and they were going on and on about how low-cost land will destroy the hypergrid. But I guess they changed their mind on that as well, because that's what they do. All right.
Yeah,
So,
changing times, changing opinions. Yeah.
so moving on to the Kitely market, they released some nice concrete numbers for people who are interested in what sells. Now, Elon briefly touched on this last week on this show, so I followed up with him and I said, "Hey, give me some actual statistics here," and he did. He came through with actual statistics. Um, in particular, he told me about how people prefer to pay, whether it's with Kitely credits or with cash. And I was thinking that people would prefer to pay with Kitely credits because you already have the money, it's burning a hole in your wallet. I certainly prefer to pay with Kitely credits because I have a whole bunch of them that I can't do anything with except buy stuff on the Kitely market. But he said that, in fact, the number of people who prefer to pay cash using PayPal has increased from 59% 2 years ago to 79% right now. Now, for merchants, accepting payment in cash and PayPal is great because you get the money, you get the cash. Whereas with Kitely credits, you have to figure out a way to use up those Kitely credits because they're not redeemable.
Mm.
So I thought that it would be something that merchants would be more interested in. But Elon says that there's a reason why customers are more interested in it too, because this is really appealing for customers who don't already have Kitely accounts, because it saves them the effort of having to buy Kitely credits, which most users who live on other grids or who are companies or schools, etc., they don't want to go through the additional intermediate step of buying Kitely credits, and this way they get to their content faster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was a good thing to find out. Then the other thing that he talked about was what kind of stuff sells. And what he said is that people buy more clothing items than landscaping items, but the total money brought in, the total sales, is higher for landscaping than clothes because the landscaping items cost more.
Ah,
So
okay.
you're selling fewer things, but they're more expensive, and overall you're making more money. And some of my readers have hypothesized also that OpenSim land is really inexpensive, and a lot of people are coming over right now to OpenSim and starting up their little private grids, role-playing grids, school grids, company meetings, simulations, personal grids, whatever. And the first thing that you want to do when you do that is to put up some buildings, some plants, some rivers, waves, whatever. And so and these are single time purchases. You buy this landscape once, so you're willing to pay more money for it. You want something really nice that's unique, that's not the same freebie landscape that every single other region has. You want something that really reflects, what you want to reflect. So you're going to pay a little bit extra for it. Whereas with clothes, you change most people change clothes frequently, and they buy more of them, but they're also willing to pay less for any particular individual item because they get less use out of it.
Well, it's really the difference between an individual purchasing for their own requirements as an avatar, and
Oh, that too. Yeah,
an estate owner purchasing for their region.
absolutely. That's an
The whole
yeah,
demand's
that's
different. Yeah.
excellent point as well. Yeah, the person doing the purchasing is a different person. Okay, so the other statistical story that I did this month was about the total hypergrid stats, who's up, who's down. And we had we had more than 9,000 new users registered on the public grids this month, but total active users fell by 672. I speculate because of the summer months. People are going away on vacation. Um, OpenSim gained 1,700 new regions. It now has almost 63,000 regions. Almost all of them were on a hypergrid. Only 20 of those regions were on a closed commercial grids.
I've just occurred to me something.
Huh?
That means there are almost as many individual grids on the hypergrid as there are individual users in Second Life, doesn't it?
Oh, you mean it's almost as many individual regions
Yeah,
as there are daily users in Second Life?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
So because in OpenSim, it is accessible for people to have, a region per user.
Yeah.
You could, instead of having a little residential plot, you can have a little residential region and really, have your own private nude beach instead of having to share somebody else's, right?
Hmm. Not so
So,
much, probably not so much fun, but we won't go there.
well, that is true. The biggest gainer this month was Kitely. They gained over 600 new regions. And one of the reasons was that they had a big price change at the beginning of June. They eliminated metered pricing and they lowered the cost of the two top plans by 60%. And Elon says that the change was well received. And even though they lost revenues because the prices fell, that they wouldn't have having enough new business to compensate for the loss of those revenues.
Oh, great. Right.
And already after 1 month. So I guess that was a successful move on their part. ATech Grid, which is owned by CloudServe, one of the cloud hosting companies for OpenSim, was in second place. They gained nearly 400 new regions. They're also on a hypergrid. Virtual Worlds Grid, also on a hypergrid, gained nearly 300 new regions. And DigiWorlds, which is also on a hypergrid, gained 257 new regions. So, and I have a little chart up there showing the growth in regions of the hypergrid versus the closed grids, and the difference is dramatic. It's getting to the point where you can barely see the little red splotch that is the closed grids compared to all the land that's on the open grids.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
I don't. Well, I had an email, an IM from Roddy, CEO at a Great Canadian Grid here during the week. It may have been a different thing he was mentioning. Apparently, it was to do with concurrency, the charts for concurrency. And a Great Canadian Grid apparently comes seventh. I mean, it doesn't compete with a lot of the really big grids, but they're very pleased in total concurrency. In return visitors all the while and stuff. They came number 7. Was that one of your?
I don't track concurrency.
Okay.
But I do track popularity, and they were one of the most popular grids, the 7th most popular grid this month.
Right. Okay.
In fact, we now have 7 grids that have more than 1,000 active users a month. Great Canadian Grid is right at that line. They had exactly 1,000 active users when I grabbed those stats.
Right.
Inworlds, again, is at the top with 7,600 active users. Then OS Grid with 3,500. Metropolis with 3,200. Craft, they're heavily Italian. They've got about a little over 1,000. Avanation is the other closed grid in this list. They've got a little over 1,000. Kitely has a little over 1,000.
Oh.
And then the last 3 are Island Oasis, which has 900 active users. YR Grid with 800, and those are 2 closed grids. And then Lost Paradise has 556, and they are hypergrid enabled.
I'm really surprised Kitely's come so low on that with just over 1,000. That means Canada's almost on a par. Yeah, it's surprising.
Yes, Kitely is did they lose or gain this month? I'd have to look it up. I didn't. It was probably not significantly. Otherwise, I would have mentioned them in the story. Yeah, they're heavy with educators, so that could be one of the reasons as well.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Holidays.
Yes. But also Kitely has long been a grid with more regions than users, than active users as well.
Mm.
Um, so
Yeah, that makes sense with the grid on demand business. The active users are only active when they want the grid up. So fair enough.
exactly, yeah. Avanation lost 270 active users. Third Rock Grid lost 235. YR Grid lost 217. OS Grid lost 195. Virtual Worlds Grid lost 121. A lot of these are due to they're popular with educators. Some of it could just be the summer months. People are going outside instead of sitting on the computers.
Tell me. I mean, when people in virtual worlds, I'm not criticizing you here, but I often think people playing stuff on the summer, completely forgetting that in the southern hemisphere it's the winter, and so technically the season
Well,
shouldn't matter in the global net. But do we
no.
know? Do we
Yes,
know? Do
yes.
we know? About the no, this is another question actually. Do we know anything about the geographic location of users on
Yes,
OpenSim and things? So, for example, are
yes,
OpenSims hypergrid predominantly Northern Hemisphere?
yes.
Yeah,
Because there's nothing in the southern hemisphere except
Austra-
Brazil,
Australia
South America, and Australia.
and New
Uh,
Zealand.
and New Zealand, and that's not enough to make up for North America, which is huge. The
Yeah,
UK, Germany are huge. China and Japan are big populations, but I'm not tracking a lot of their grids. It's just a couple of grids in Japan. Probably because I can't read Chinese, so I'm having
yeah.
trouble finding them. But Europe and America are huge users. Um, and I have run the seasonal numbers, and I've looked at them both for Second Life and for OpenSim, and there is very clear seasonality with dips in the summer and dips over the winter holidays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it could be that the because it's a bi-seasonal dips, one in the summer, one in the winter. It could be that the southern hemisphere contributes a little bit to those, so that when we have our summer holidays, they have their winter holidays. When we have our winter holidays, they have their summer holidays, but we're both on holiday.
Mm. I know in Second Life terms that I was always impressed by how many Australian people were residents and activists in the world, but
Yeah.
you didn't see them very much simply because of the hours. They were waking up when you were going to bed, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
but I must admit, in my hypergrid travels and stuff, I don't think I've really met too many Australians. So,
All right.
so, yeah.
I've run into Australians online in various settings, and when I tend to run into them is if I happen to be on in the morning, my time,
Oh,
which is their evening. Well,
yeah.
because there's it's 10 to 12 hours off for me. So if it happens to be a weekend and I happen to be in World, in Pacific morning hours, then
Yeah.
that's pretty good time for Australians. The other thing I was going to note is that the main winter holidays, of course, are Christmas and Easter, Christmas and New Year's, and both South America and Australia celebrate those holidays.
Oh yeah, the big yeah.
As distinct from the New Year's in China and Japan. Certainly in China is it's about a month later,
Right.
and Christmas is a Western holiday. So
Yeah.
Christmas is becoming it's huge in China. Everywhere you go, they have Santa Clauses and Christmas trees now. They really took that over. They've
claimed the secular part of it
because it's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun and it's consumer.
Yeah. Consumer oriented. Yeah.
Consumer playground. Yeah.
Okay.
Any excuse.
All right. So the big bad news of the week is that the Lindens have shut down all third-party exchanges.
Yeah.
Now, 2 years ago, they shut them down for the first time, but then they backed off a little bit and said, okay, we're not shutting you down 100%. We're only shutting you down 50%. You can't buy Lindens, but you can sell them. And the reason they did that is because apparently there's a lot of customers who can't buy Lindens from the Linden official exchange because because of the limited payment options. They literally can't get money to Second Life. And so the Linden Lab quickly backtracked and said, if you're an authorized reseller in our program, you can resell Lindens that you buy from us to other people. So Second Life would set the rate, at which the Lindens were sold, and you would, in exchange, you could buy as many of them as you wanted to, and then you would sell them to other people. So Linden Lab was losing nothing from this. It cost them nothing to do this reseller program, and they were able to get people setting up exchanges, providing customer support and marketing and sales in all these different countries where these exchanges are based. In Eastern Europe, in Latin America, and all sorts of crazy places where there are Second Life users, and they had difficulty getting money to Second Life. So this week they shut it down. They gave a little bit of notice. It all ends
August 1st
August
is when
1st.
the
Yep.
program actually closes.
Yep.
I shared the official item and what I covered on this, that Linden Lab describes this as a pilot program that what they started in 2013, and what their official announcement says is that in the intervening months, the changes that have taken place, there is no. They say you can easily purchase Lindens in more countries than ever before using credit card, PayPal, or Skrill.
Yeah, that
which
was the
supports a
one
wide
big
range of payment
Yeah.
method. And
Yes.
and I would tend to disagree with you saying that it costs them nothing, because they still have to administer their program of keeping tabs on resellers.
Yeah,
There's some administrative. I'm sure there's administration involved in
presumably
even running a reseller program. So
presumably they have to watch out for things like money laundering too, legally.
I don't no, because you can't. The resellers aren't allowed to buy back Lindens, so there's no potential for money laundering.
Oh, right.
And I don't know how much administration they do, because their website listing resellers lists a bunch of them that are no longer active. So I don't know how much administration they're doing with this. It was bringing in, judging by the fact that all these companies were existing, it was bringing in some customers, and just by adding Skrill, Second Life thinks that they've solved the whole global payments issue, and we'll see if that's the case or not. Can everybody just switch over to Skrill?
I'm annoyed that I can't just. I've got far too many Lindens that I'm never going to use in Second Life, and I can't just transfer into Podex and use them here.
Yeah. Well, you can try to sell them on the Lindex for dollars, and then use dollars on the kindly market, or anywhere else you could use dollars.
Yeah, it's just convoluted, isn't it?
yeah, and you have the exchange rates, and you have the reporting requirements. There's various other reasons why people were using third-party exchanges as well.
Yeah.
And so now for OpenSim, there's a problem here that our biggest OpenSim exchanges, this is Verwox and Podex, were primarily making the money from Linden dollars. Now that whole revenue flow is shut off, are these companies going to go out of business? Now, the Crossworlds Exchange already told me they're shutting down. Podex says that they're going to be doubling down on OpenSim. But I don't know if they're going to be able to make a go of it or not. Verbox hasn't responded back to me yet. So hopefully this week or week after that, we'll be hearing a little bit more from the exchanges about what's going to be happening with them. But there's a
How
good chance that they'll all be shutting down because there's not enough business, you know, up in Sim itself to keep them going.
well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm thinking of Podex because they're the ones that this grid is using.
Exactly.
To me, I'm not sure quite. Well, there presumably people went to Podex. They spent real money to buy lindens off them. Was that what was happening? And now that can't happen anymore.
Yeah, people went to Podex, which is based in Eastern Europe,
Yeah,
because they took different payment options, and everybody has a different payment system that they prefer to use.
yeah,
And for people based internationally, they don't want to spend too much money on exchange fees as well.
right,
So buying from a local exchange may make a big difference for them in terms of how many lindens they're going to end up with.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and same
Uh,
thing for Verbox in Austria, and also Bitcoin. A lot of these exchanges accept Bitcoin. Does anybody know if the Skrill accepts Bitcoin?
no, I haven't a clue. I
I'm
doubt
googling
it.
it.
No. Oh,
I'm
right.
I'm googling it now, and we'll get back to you as soon as that search comes back. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You did have the grid that's Bitcoin based, didn't you? By the way, the
Yeah.
completely different items that you
Yes.
ported. Yeah,
That's a different thing. Yeah.
yeah,
They released some data about who their users were, and we talked about that last week. That Saudi Arabia was in second place after the United States, and
yeah.
Romania was in third place.
Yes, I remember that was my real curiosity. That one.
Yeah, that was funny. Yes. Uh, so uh, it doesn't look like Skrill accepts bitcoins. Yeah, I think you have to buy them with something else, and then switch them over. Uh, and Virvox was the main place to do that. Is to use the bitcoins to switch over to lindens.
Mm.
Anyway, but bitcoins are not a major transactional currency anyway. The bigger issue, of course, is the big international currencies, like people from Brazil or Eastern Europe or Russia, whoever. Okay. All right. So, in other news, I have set up a Flickr group for sharing public domain textures, and I've uploaded something like 1,000 texture images to it already.
Oh boy, that would get you
And
busy.
that was fun. No, it wasn't. I uploaded all my Linda Kelly textures. So I just ran in the background. I had the little Flickr uploader. What's keeping
Oh,
me busy is trying to figure out how to tag these. I'm not good at Flickr. I posted them all to this group. I made them public domain, but now I'm trying to tag. Like I want to tag the seamless ones as seamless, the brick ones as bricks, and it's having trouble doing that. If anybody has any ideas, please let me know. Um,
have you thought of Pinterest?
no, I
Be,
have not thought of it Pinterest.
Because I know, I mean, I actually do post nice landscape pictures I see on Flickr and elsewhere to Flickr. But when I come across nice avatar pictures or stuff, I often use Pinterest. And when I go to Pinterest, I've got a sheet, as it were, called a folder, as it were, called avatars, and I can create as many folders as I want. And each time I upload, I can actually upload them into a category. So if I was doing something like you were doing, I would simply create a board. That's what they call it in Pinterest, called textures brick. And I would put all the brick ones in there, and then textures, landscape, and put all the landscapes in there. You get my drift.
Well, Flickr has all that. They have
Oh,
albums, collections, tags. They have all that stuff. But for some reason, I'm having trouble making all these things stick. And
okay.
it's just me. I'm just bad at using it.
Yeah.
And the reason why I went with Flickr instead of with Pinterest is because of the search and download options. Flickr has license terms, Pinterest seems a bit more about sharing photos to look at
Yeah.
that are linked to other sites, as opposed to sharing photos for download.
Good point. Good
So
point. Yeah.
with Flickr, you upload photos for download. You can set your license terms. You can set the creator of the photo. You can have multiple sizes. Flickr automatically resizes them all,
Mm.
and you can download them in various ways. So Flickr has a little bit more functionality for sharing textures, and that's why I went with it. But I'm just not an expert user of Flickr, so that's why I'm having trouble with it. And I'm working on it, so I'll get that fixed. But if anybody wants to contribute to that group, it's an open group. And the reason why I went with public domain licensing instead of CC licensing is because I want to have a base of pictures that people can use for any kind of building. And I know that a lot of creators who make textures want don't like to see them used commercially or want to get credit for them. So they distribute them under the CC BY license or the CC non-commercial license. But what this means is that if you want to download the textures and use them, you have to keep track of every individual texture. Is this texture allowed to be used commercially or not? Is this texture require attribution or not?
Yeah.
And if you make an object that has lots of different textures in it, like say you're building a big building, then you have all these different pieces of textures that have to have their own attributions. Some of them cannot be used commercially, some can't. And that creates a bookkeeping nightmare for anybody. And so I like to have a source of pictures that is all public domain. You can do anything you want with them. You don't have to worry about attribution. You could just go nuts and build. And when you look for these pictures, I don't think it's going to hurt your visibility. I mean, Linda Kelly distributes all her pictures as public domain, CC0 licensed, and she has a very well-known name. It hasn't hurt her reputation at all. And in fact, it's helped build it because her stuff is so usable.
I'm funny. I mean, I find it so easy to make your own textures. I often wonder what the fuss is with commercial-sided textures. But you know what I think we could use, although again, OpenSim being what it is, if you had a plugin where you could import textures from a Flickr stream like that, where, so you will be downloading them, but instead of downloading them to your disk and re-uploading them, you just, you're in the way that you can post to Flickr from Second Life. I haven't been able to do it here for some reason. You would go to import and...
hot link to a Flickr image from OpenSim.
Yeah, and not hot link, but just import. In the way you can I don't know what the story is, but in Firefox, in Second Life, I can post to my take a snapshot and upload it to my Flickr stream, and I keep thinking, how nice it would be to be able to download something from Flickr that I've already saved there, rather than re-upload it from my hard disk. It just seems quicker. But oddly enough, in OpenSim, I can't even, whenever I fire up the snapshot feature and choose Flickr, the Firefox crashes. It doesn't seem to work in OpenSim, that Flickr button. But I was just thinking it'd be lovely, apart from the upload, take a snapshot upload thing, it'd be lovely to actually have a download into the virtual environment, bypassing your hard disk, but still a download. If you
I would guess that that's something to do with, there's probably an API that needs to be connected between the server software, the OpenSim server software, and Flickr in order for that to work. And I'm just speaking of the upload part. As far as the download part, that's probably in your dreams.
I think the APIs might be the problem, because when I first tried the first one, Firestorm took me to Flickr and they gave me an authorization number, and then I put the authorization number into Firestorm and tried the first upload, but it crashed. It's so the procedure was there, Flickr actually opened the window and said, do you give Firestorm permission? But it just doesn't seem to work in OpenSim. So don't know.
Yeah, well, as I say, there's probably something in the server side of OpenSim software that has to be addressed,
right,
or done by the individual grid owner.
Yeah,
right.
fair enough.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit above my pay grade. But what you can do in OpenSim,
It's above my too.
Yeah,
but what you as a user can do in OpenSim is you can get the link from Flickr for the photo, like the one that ends in .jpeg, and then you can import it onto any surface. There's a command in OpenSim to pull in a texture from the web and put it on the surface.
Oh yeah.
And there's also the media on a prim thing, which you can put a texture on a surface. So there's two ways to put a texture from the web onto a surface.
Good point. Yeah, you can use that. Yeah, good point. That would be one way around it if you can browse enough of them. Yeah, good.
Yep. Anyway, so the last bit that I wanted to point out was that Rose Freeland, she's a fashion designer. She has shared her marketing plan with us for her business, and that's the lead story right now on Hypergood Business, and it involves having 4 things: a blog with social media connections. It involves groups with posted events, hunts, tour HUDs. It involves paid ads on places like Kitely Market and websites. And it involves using customer-created content like Flickr and Instagram, where your customers will share their own, uses of your content or of your grid or your destination with other customers. So that's something that I suggest that anybody who's marketing stuff on the hypergrid take a look at. Some great, very useful, very concrete advice there for how to do this. Cool. And that is it for me.
Okay. Oh, we're well on schedule today, he says. Well, yeah, about 15 minutes left or a bit more if we stick to a short show. Right. Okay. Well, before we get any further, I'm going to sort of mention one thing and another thing at the same time, so to speak. When I opened MetaWorld Broadcasting's region here, and indeed with the adjacent regions that I've been attaching or something, apart from the studios immediately below, which are free for anybody to use, I started building all these what you might call micro environments, which on the surface made no sense. You walk from one thing into another very quickly, but the idea these were studio sets rather than real landscapes, although I do try to blend the landscapes as best possible. And my theory was that anybody wanting to do machinima could just come over and find a suitable sort of environment in this jungle and actually film there. Now, I was talking to Roddy at the Great Canadian Grid the other day, and I was saying to him, well, that really hasn't panned out. I mean, there are people popping in here, but they don't seem to be doing much in the way of filming and stuff. So I've sort of started slightly refocusing on making the landscape a bit, he says. It's going to take a long while, more coherent as a landscape. However, I was very sad to hear in the week that over in Second Life, Chick Eon, who's a blogger and she's very active on Canada here, has had a project going in Second Life for about 3 years called the Machinima Open Studio Project. Now, I think we've mentioned this in the Second Life news on various occasions. This, as far as I know, is not directly connected with the LEA or anything, but the idea is she had regions there that she was just continually putting down more and more environments that machinima makers could use. In other words, if somebody's just renting a house somewhere on a Second Life and they fancy moving into machinima making and stuff, then she was coordinating a lot of ready-made environments that they could use for filming. More ambitious people, of course, could just go location hunting, which is fun in itself. But the idea there would be a central place where people could go and potter around, see a lot of environments, and maybe choose something to film. And Chigel, as I said, she's over here in Canada, but also in Second Life, she's put a lot of work into that, and she had a lot of support from AVU, Lapaisi and AVU TV, and quite a few other people. Well, the whole machinima community, and there were some fascinating builds there. They weren't all just nice landscapes for filming. There were some real oddities too that really qualified as art in their own right. But she's sort of had enough, I think, is the gist of it, and it's going to be closing. She says how much she's enjoyed it in her blog and helped encourage machinima photographers and thousands of photographers as well, and giving them an ever-changing landscape in which to create their stories. And but she says all things MOASP, that's Machinima Open Studio Project, will be coming down in mid-July. That means for those of you in the midst of projects, you've got about a month to get your ducks in a row and film in the can, as she puts it. The ducks in the row thing, but never mind. She will not be dismantling for 3 weeks, and the full Sim City and ground level will be the last areas to disappear, although, of course, she's recreated those out here. Get your cameras and film anything you never got to while you can. She says there's no real life problems. She's not going anywhere. It's simply time to shift gears, move along, and leave room for the next great idea. There are plenty of people who have dreams. Happily, she's had a chance to make hers a reality. Now, she does point out that her blog, where she's writing this, will remain because it's her blog, I guess. It's not just Moab. And she'll most likely put forth some philosophy or random thoughts from time to time. She's also made an instruction video for new kids on the block. So many simple things can make filming a pleasure rather than a chore. She says the Inworld group will be around, continue to be around too, and you never know what may transpire in the future. A new version of MOASP might appear, say in SL2, but there are no plans for that yet, but we just don't know what the future holds, kind of thing. And she thanks everybody for their participation. So I've long thought that was, apart from the work Chick does anyway, that was actually a particularly nice project because you can see somebody who's new to Second Life who just latched onto, I can film things here with this camera tool and stuff like that. And, she provided a lot of encouragement, with the machinima communities, but also a ready-made place for people to go and do just that. So I think that's a bit of a sad loss. I would add, of course, that if anybody wants something similar, maybe they want to try coming to Canada and checking out MetaWorld Broadcasting in its adjacent regions. But those are not. Let's say the professionalism in my regions doesn't always match the standards of the television broadcasting, should we say? And I don't know that anybody would recommend those either. But I thought it was worthy of a mention there. And I do know that Chick is very active over here on the Canadian grid too. She has a region here which. The name escapes me, but basically it is that peaceful, tranquil valley. And then so many thousands of meters up in the sky, there's a huge city as well. So she's with hypergates and all sorts of things in it. So I thought I'd make a point of saying that because I was very sad with that post actually to realise that was closing down. I mean, obviously MOASP was within Second Life and limited to that, but it's sort of it reminded me, of the intention of some of what I'd hoped to do here, which I don't know, maybe I just haven't publicised it enough. Transpired, but I continue anyway. I build away. Okay. So I've had my little say on that, and great praise to Chicky Arm for all that she does. In fact. So, my mind has now gone a blank because we've all three of us have done our thing, and we don't actually have a guest. So, I guess, anything else you two have got that you think is worthy of some discussion? Maybe Tara?
I was just looking back at my notes here.
Well, I am truly, truly horrified that the Oculus Rift will not have porn on its platform.
Oh, it's Facebook. What do you expect? Ban it, ban it, ban it.
Don't
Oh,
they
well,
know
now wait
that
a minute. No,
porn
I
drives
don't.
technology?
Sorry.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true because they may not have porn on the official Oculus Rift store, but that doesn't mean it can't happen because it's open source. So the Oculus Rift store is not going to be the only show in town for getting
Yeah.
Oculus software.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because you
Paul,
can download the software independently and run it on on your desktop. Right. Good point.
Yeah.
Like with
Well, not only that, people can create, you know, whatever for the Oculus and sell it some other way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was thinking more of like the Apple Store where it's curated. That's the only place to get stuff for the iPhone.
Yeah,
But
but
you're
that's
right. You're right.
yeah,
It's a desktop app.
yeah.
When you have a
It's a
desktop accessory for the desktop, you can run any desktop application. Like you can run Second Life on the Oculus Rift, and Second Life is full of dirty stuff. Yay!
Well,
Thank you.
and from
Thank
the
you.
and from the description, it sounds like there can easily be all kinds of things that people may dream up, the developers may come up with for using an Oculus for that won't fit within more of a family friendly, if we want to call it that. It sounds like that they plan for the Oculus store, for the Rift store.
Okay, I will stop being horrified now. Okay, thank
you.
you.
Yeah, you can stop being horrified. Yeah, your access to filth will not be interrupted if you choose to go down that avenue.
No, I am purely thinking of it as a technology evangelist because I understand that we have two major drives in our lives. One is the sex drive and one is the urge to kill people. And any technology that wants to grow really has to address both of those deep human-seated needs. We want to be able to blow stuff up, and then we want to be able to watch people make babies. And it surprises me that in our culture, it is totally okay to watch people dismember each other virtually, but enjoying a natural expression of human love is not accepted. I don't understand.
Well, we can even take that a step further, and that is the fact that women who have babies, there are still lots of places that they get messages that you cannot nurse your baby in public. This is absolutely, this is just not the thing to do. But think of all the other things people can do in public without.
You can open up a boxing ring anywhere and have people beating
each other up. Yeah,
and we enjoy it. That's wholesome family entertainment.
And they consider it entertainment. Yeah.
Talking of things slightly risque, have either you ladies heard of something called clitting?
No.
I know. I don't know that I want to.
Well, no, actually, it's really above board, and I think it's great. Apparently, in Denmark, they had a problem defining the need for women to be talking to other women, discussing particularly women's issues. And so they've invented a word that translates as clitting, and it is now in the official Denmark dictionary. I think it's Denmark anyway. I hope it's not Norway. And, apparently it's a new thing because people use, I don't know, whether it's Facebooks or IMs or whatever, and talk channels. So there's officially now a kind of talk channel now called clitting.
What's wrong with the word talking?
Well, quite, but I mean, well, I guess they need to. They need an acronym that describes the particular demographic that the talking route is going for. I don't know. I read it. I read it in the week, and I sort of thought, is that really necessary? But on the other hand, I thought, well, okay, why not? At least it shows that they're not not abashed about it or anything.
I can imagine the male equivalent of that would begin with a D, but
well,
I can't see that.
No, I think I
going into popular usage.
It's very odd. I mean, apparently there are quite a few male equivalents, which is why they thought there was a need for the female ones. So it was a reaction sort of thing.
I can't think of a single male equivalent actually being used to describe men talking to each other.
I don't know, usually, I don't think men bother.
Men don't talk to each other. That's why.
On subjects like that, it's kind of known that men don't very often.
Well, I guess there's male bonding.
Yeah, that's called a pint of beer.
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't quite qualify.
Or football.
Oh yeah, or something. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so so thank you, Tara, for putting my mind at ease about dirty stuff on the Oculus Rift. But now I will still be worried about the lack of dirty stuff on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store.
Well, that's.
So I can still worry about that.
Yeah, that's the app stores. They no, I think there's actually a cause for concern there. I mean, I think the rise of apps, be it on Google Play or on Windows Marketplace or the App Store, Apple's App Store, there's a downside to it, and that is censorship. We already see it with certain apps and things. We're already seeing it, and I think it's only going to get worse in the future. And it horrifies me that these big players will actually start exercising power of censorship over lives.
But I see potential good side here. So right now, if you want to have a nice little virtual reality experience on your cell phone, you would download a virtual reality app and you'd use it with your Google Cardboard. And I've done that; it's a lot of fun. But if you want to watch a dirty video on your iPhone, you have to use the browser to go to the website itself, because you can't download a dirty video app. So I can definitely see that people who would want to have dirty virtual reality apps will figure out a way that you can browse to them without having to have a custom app for that particular dirty purpose.
Oh yeah. You
would have an app that would take you to a broad range of virtual reality experiences that would include the adult ones, or that's like just a browser thing where it's built into the browser, and I believe it might already even be built into Chrome, where if you go to a website that has the side-by-side view, you can already get it in 3D. So, and that I think will not only be a way for the adult industry to deliver content to mobile devices, which I believe are one of the leading places where people are now consuming adult content. Because from what I hear, it's really convenient to get it in a mobile device, right? As opposed to having to sit behind a computer.
It's I imagine if it's cardboard or whatever, it's what you really call a virtual hands-free experience, isn't it?
Exactly.
What is your hands-free of the interfacing requirements?
I think it's time we wrapped. We're just perilously close to falling over the edge here.
Yeah, we are. We are. But it's funny. It's funny. You get into these things, but they suddenly find out they're raising serious issues too on board with matters like general censorship.
It moves technology forward.
Yeah.
Because if people realize that they can get virtual reality adult content with a $4 Google Cardboard headset, and we pay an extra $1 for the head strap so it's fully hands-free, that will really drive adoption of both the headsets and the technology itself.
Mm.
And
I think that the fact that our iPads, Androids, and all that can actually get to sites on in a browser as well as going through apps is actually a godsend, really. Because
yeah,
if they didn't have browsers, well, I think we'd already be noticing the things we can't get. But
yeah,
yeah,
yep.
I mean, it's all the future, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay, well, I think of it. I've still got the Melbourne's underscore writer Twitter feed over open. So bloggingsl.net had a thing on visiting Africa. This isn't Alania's. For many years ago, they had a virtual Africa. This is actually a different one, but there's a nice African place you can visit there in Second Life too. Something else I had here, yeah, a site called Virtuosity at WordPress.com. That's VIRTUOSIT 1111. That's four of the darn things in numerals. .wordpress.com. Have an artist spotlight on a Second Life creator called Feathers Boa, who you may have come across. Nice to see her get a little feature somewhere. And there is a new one of the, it's on Issue, the flipbook magazine site. I've published it on my Tumblr blog anyway. A new Second Life Avatar magazine I came across called Fierce. That's their new June issue out, although I seem to have missed a few issues. These things turn up once in a while and you think, oh, good, I never heard of that. And it's been going 6 months, but never mind. It's always nice to look through the glossy magazines online, so to speak. And oh, yes, just as a follow-up to Tara earlier, she mentioned Mizu, a rainy story. And I've got a rainy story guide, part 1, and you can find it at a website called Prim Dolls. That's PRIMDOLLS, or one word, .blogspot.com. And yeah, I think that's all I've got there in my little extras, so to speak. Okay, well, I think Tara's right. I think for a change, we should actually wrap more or less on the 90-minute bit and call it a success, despite a bit of interference from Skype, which I'm third week running. Come on, Microsoft, get your act together. So with that, we'll just do our closing thing. As usual, just any other stuff that's exciting anybody or whatever during the week. And there's only the three of us here. So Maria first, final thoughts.
Well, I'm going to be attending some virtual reality demos in Boston. Get a chance to look at the Fove, which has a wide field of view. I'm also going to be talking to the people behind Full Dive, and they make a $29 headset for any smartphone. And it looks really cool, but the delivery isn't expected until next year. So that's a little sad on that side. They had a crowdfunding campaign, which is really cool. And then I'm going to try to enjoy some summer.
Yes,
try to
yes.
enjoy me some summer.
Yes, that's a very good. That's a very good idea. He says he'll probably still be saying it come winter. There was a brief clip in the week, or it was about a week ago now, I should think, of Philip Rosedale talking about one of the hardware devices, and I think that was the Fove actually. It wasn't a high fidelity promo. It was just Philip talking on video somewhere about something and raving about it. So, forgotten that. Right, closing thoughts from you, Tara.
Well, I'm continuing my slow trudge on learning Blender and starting to feel like I might actually learn it. It's feeling a little less daunting. Right? That doesn't mean there isn't a ton to learn, but there's kind of a point where you say, I think I can do this. And I think I've reached that point. And I'm looking forward, Maria, to your little tutorial.
I still need to write that up. Yeah.
on rigging and getting it in and out of Blender. So yeah, that's moving along. And yes, summer has arrived, and And I have tomato plants that are blossoming already, which is early for me. And
Oh,
I will be very surprised if I don't actually end up with some tomatoes in July, which is almost unheard of in this part of the world. I usually don't see tomatoes until well into August. So stay tuned. We'll see.
While we were closing here, I pressed our link in my Melbourne's Writer incoming notifications because I'm terrible at reading notifications in Twitter, and it's opened up the link. Actually, it had obviously been posted to me. It said Mal Burns lives in a parallel universe. So I pressed on the link to find out what it was, and it's taken me to Google Trends, explore query Minecraft virtual reality or something. It's full of maybe you'd love this movie. I don't know. Interest over time. It's got these graphs.
right,
It's
yeah.
got these graphs and things. It's the sort of thing I never go to be honest. I was intrigued by somebody twittering that I live in the parallel universe. Yeah, Malburn's writer lives in the parallel universe. Arrow Google Trends interest for virtual worlds. And James Riley, I know this character from somewhere way back when. Mal, he says at SL12B, at Malburn's writers should put money where his mouth is and make a 2.5 billion buyout bid for SL, like Minecraft achieved. What is this guy talking about?
I have made
if I had that money where my mouth was,
O'Reilly, and I have not been able to communicate with him on a human-to-human level. I've tried.
I think this is somebody I probably said don't follow anymore in my main feed, and therefore haven't seen these until I just pressed a button.
I've had to block him on every social media site and forums that I run. He's the only one right now who I'm actually blocking.
Right. Yeah, I knew the name was familiar from somewhere, and it didn't. I had a feeling it was not in a particularly healthy way. So yes.
Yes, but someone who has been prone to over exuberant multiple postings of the same items in every conceivable location more than once.
Yeah. Every it wonders if he has time to go into virtual worlds, actually, doesn't it? Spamming every social channel under the sun. Yes, you've reminded me now. Yes, it's
anyway.
Okay, well, it's probably best we don't go. We don't go any more there. Athea Island. Oh dear, I should actually check these replies one of these days. So I post away, because it's a broadcast medium for me. Link here, link there. I sent her this, and I don't duplicate. I use one Twitter for Second Life lifestyle and events. I use another one for the metaverse. I use Facebook occasionally for something very different, and I use all the channels for different specific things. And I don't overflood people on any one channel. Anyway, that is just me. Meanwhile, we will wrap the show, and we will, of course, be back same time, same place next week with another thrilling edition, probably with some guests to take us over time. But for this week, at least we're more or less on time. So I'd like to thank Tara and Maria, of course. Thank you, Maria.
Always a pleasure being here, Mel.
And thank you, Tara.
Anytime.
And thank you to myself, of course. And with that, I will wish you all a very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, or indeed a very good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And we will return. Bye for now.